Hey guys, it's Carnifex Another Nerd. This video today we are going to be going over what you can get for Gear 9 champions in Dragon Champions. I took some characters from the game, I got them to Gear 9, and I said, hey, I'm not going to get them to Gear 10. Might do some easy stuff once I hit Gear 9, but then assuming I got that, what can I get out of it? So I can show that to people who are either more on like the free-to-play spectrum or maybe they're newer to the game, just because one of the main things you got to do well in gacha games in order to get the most out of it is you got to manage your resources well, and you've got to not over invest. So what's over investing, right? So for example, with the Solis event coming up, right, orcs are not a fantastic faction overall right now. Tromgar is very useful and good in arena and in the raid and other places relative to other tanks. Hard work is certainly not bad, but after that it really drops down in how good they are. So what that means is I only want to have to put into them what I gotta put into them, enough to make it, if I really care about clearing the side room on tower. Getting Soleus either to 5-star if I'm not gonna be able to get 7 stars first time around, or 7-star if either I was able to get the 5-star last time around, or I've really invested heavily into orcs since missing out on Soleus the first time. If I go any more on Mar or on Mortha, right, then I need to, or is the most efficient use of my resources, then I've kind of wasted that because I'm not really going to use them anywhere else. So overinvestment, right, is basically just putting more into someone than you need to in order to get what you want out of them. So obviously some characters you're going to want to bring as high as you can. Your arena team, you want to gear 11 those guys as soon as you're able to, as long as they're characters you think have some sustainability and aren't going to get passed up by some other meta in the next month. So that's what I did, and so here's kind of like how I went about choosing who I use for stuff. So was I using Sharp Illyria and like Darien from the original campaign crew, or was I using stronger meta characters? And I use stronger meta characters whenever possible. I tried to use the best team available for each of these guys, and there's two main reasons for that. One, I want this game to age well, or not this game, this video to age well, because not only coming up on Soleus for the second time, but people have been around for long. They've kind of had an idea of who to go for anyway, and so if they haven't started working these people, if they haven't gotten these people to 7 stars and stuff yet, they're certainly working on them if they've been watching any videos like mine or other people's. And secondly, because these are the characters you can feel safest saying, hey, I'm so limited in the beginning, right? But you know what? I know I can put at least this into them, and I can feel good about it. I don't have to worry about, am I wasting anything by getting my Darien to Gear 9? Because you are wasting something if you get your Darien to Gear 9, at least right now. So you're not wasting resources by getting these characters to Gear 9. So those are the two main reasons. How many ability upgrades did I do, right? Let's look at Soleus, for example. So here, I did not just flat out max them out. If I thought there was justification either for the kit or just because of all of their uses, right? Not just one little use, maybe use it broadly over the course of the game, I went in. So right here, this is a really bad ability upgrade, giving 10% of max health. It's certainly, it's in line with the move, but it's 10% health for a lot of resources. So that's not something the average person wants to do. Same thing here. In order to get, armor increase isn't going to do that much for me unless you have Lil Baddie or Darien running, and there's two main reasons. If Darien stinks and Lil Baddie most people don't have even at 7 stars, so they're not using her, that means I'd be dropping both of these combined to actually get here, and that's a ton of ability mats, and that's our real crunch right now, even over Gear's ability mats. So anyway, I went for high value ability upgrades, and you'll see some characters as we go through the screens that are less invested in than others. But certainly characters like Nightiel, who hey, look, I'm showing you do not need to feel bad at all. You never make a mistake by going at least to this point in Nightiel, and that's kind of the point of these ability upgrades. You can't go wrong going this deep in. Right. As for runes, there are some really good runes on these characters, but they're kind of spread out a little bit. And I didn't do them in order to advantage any one group in particular, to kind of compensate for as we continue to get these 3-star and 4-star blue and purple runes and stuff, to kind of balance out the fact that these are really good green 2-star runes. And And then so if we look here, right, we can see, let me see who's a good example for this one. I guess Friezard is. So as you can see here, I got him to gear 9, and then I looked. What are kind of like the easy pieces? I thought about just doing no gear from raids. So, limiting things like Hand of the Primordial or Dragon Veil. But even then, I kind of left out some of these ones where it's a good piece. But these guys, so easy to farm, right? So easy to farm. Probably everybody can just drop that on a person as soon as they level up. So these really easy ones I put in. So now that I've kind of told you what you get, let's go over what you get out of it. Now that you understand the terms and conditions, right? So campaign, right? So whenever we get these test accounts, they already had a lot of progress on them. I didn't have to burn through a lot of these missions, so don't pay as much attention to the number. But on the order, you can get a full clear, right? And when I did it the first time, right, I went in here, I cleared it the first time, easy mode, did it with this crew, and I know, again, like, this is a really good team, but I think you're going to see with how easily I beat it that, and I forgot, they're all level 80 as well, because, again, some of these characters that are longer farms, like Friezard and Nightiel, by the time a free-to-play player is going to get them, they're going to have it down that far anyway. We're going to see what literally happens if I just auto this thing, because it was not hard. So we'll see what happens here as I keep talking, but you're going to be able to get full clear on order. Again, I was able to do it first time with this crew at gear 9. And this is, for the record, not me recommending you never go on gear 9, going past gear 9 on a character, because, I mean, Nightiel is fantastic. Friezard is great. Solis is amazing. You should take them to gear 11 as you're able, as long as you balance kind of your overall needs. So as we can see, he's going to be able to get his minions out, but they're not going to be able to do much else. So we're going to go ahead and cut that video. As you can see, even autoing it, not even trying to do things the best. I'm wasting AoEs when it's a single character, even though I know that they're going to be minions added later. You can definitely clear order fairly easily. So what about clans? Clans is a little harder. And the answer is that you can get to about 8-2. With this team. The problem you run into is as soon as you hit this, which is unfortunate because I know everyone right now is like, I gotta get Mega Wheel because of this freaking event. You can see that I use the team of Rantha, Kyra, Venomate, Hardork, and Tromgar. And again, I know Hardork's a guy that people are not going to have necessarily, but I was able to get this to 8-2 pretty easily. It's once you get here where you run into a little bit of issue, and it's in wave 2, but you can just see that like you're really not doing much to these guys. I do have my Kyra rune for speed as a part of the her arena usage, but it's just it's a rough slog, and I will not pain you by going all the way through it. But basically, clans at the same mission, so like an 8-2 on clans is harder than 8-2 on order. And technically, demons on because they have a 4 scale on this one, and so on demons, this right harder, right? You've got gear 11s we just saw over there, right? We were on gear 10s, and if we go down here, doink, right? It's still only gear 10, so it's kind of like, since it's half, it like jumps twice as much. So on demons, you can get full clear. I'm gonna go back into here right now. Now this one's a little RNG dependent because of buff. So this is the team that I use combined in order to do this. Main reasons why I use this team: Friezard, his second special, has an AoE that hits all targets, and there's a ton of targets in this one. Hardork's AoE does the same thing, and just all like the buffing in general. So the problem you run into in this one, you're probably going to need to do it more than once. I was able to clear it the first time, but I know that even using my team with some gear 11s, that it was kind of subject to a little bit of RNG because of what buff does in this first round. So I'll just kind of show you quickly for those of you who haven't gotten that far yet. Usually you want to go after Kyra in the beginning. I'm sorry for the lag here. It's I remote into my laptop because that's where I have the test account on. So in a second here, we're going to see Buff do his action. I have no idea. It's never been this slow before, but something's clearly going low on here. So we even got a nice stun, but you can see all this stuff that got dropped. This combination can just be really bad. For example, we had Taunt drop on Mega Wheel. That's really unfortunate. We also got it on buff, and so that's not as much of a problem. But you can see we got blind over here on Hard Work. This can be pretty debilitating. So you kind of have to luck out on what gets dropped. You got to get Taunt on someone you already wanted to hurt anyway, like Venomate. Whenever I did it, Venomate was the one who had a drop. But so anyway, that's where you can get full clear on Order, full clear on Demons. And the reason you can get farther on Demons, even though it's actually harder than Clans, is because you have better characters right now. Right now, the best characters are definitely, if you had to do Order versus Clans faction, even though Clans is harder, just gearing-wise and everything for the enemies, Order team is better. Nightingale is able to strip buffs whenever there's not really anyone to strip buffs on the clan side right now. Their only healer is Morthen. She stinks. So that's why you're able to get through all the way with this crew instead of on clans. So next, ability challenges. I try to do the things that are kind of like the biggest concerns for getting a good farm going so you can actually get your stuff done. And so for these three, Combat Endurance, Honing Your Skill, and Gold Rush, you can max them out, 3-star at level 15, the level 15. I'll show you because again, this is, you saw my list over there, right? There is no character that's gear 11. We got 3 stars on challenge 15, 3 stars on challenge 15, 3 stars on challenge 15. Just because I didn't do it at the beginning, I will go through and show you. Look, there's no character above gear 9 plus, right? In this whole thing, boom, not hiding anybody at the bottom, throwing everyone on favorites. Seeing you, it really at first time clear every time. And again, I did use that power team of Soleus, Nightingale, Tromgar, Freezard, and Hard Orc, but it was so easy that I really feel like a couple substitutions for a little lower tier characters, you would still not have a problem. So for now we get into the gear ones though, and we were not able to unfortunately get to level 15 or get to the 15 challenge level 3-star with these. So this is the easiest one, Challenge of Tenacity. It's the easiest one just in general, and it's also one that is generally easiest for people because they tend to build up their stronger DPS first. And that's the most efficient thing to do. If your healer is good enough to heal people up, that's fine. If your tanks last long enough for your damage dealers to kill stuff, that's usually the best way to go in, is to boost up your DPS. So, and it has the freaking shackles, so that's huge. I mean, initially you struggle getting Golden Falcons. Eventually, it's not as bad. But even these belts, I mean, there's a lot of really valuable pieces here. So getting this up early is good. You can get to 14, challenge level 14, 3-star. And it was pretty easy. Getting even actually 1-star on this is also pretty easy. The problem you run into is that, and I'll show you the comp I was using here real quick. I was using Rantha. I've tried using Nightingale lead and taking out Rantha, and I tried having Rantha in and going with a very different composition. So I've kind of gone with more of a clan composition with Nightingale for the Dispel, and I also went with the Nightingale lead and more of an Order crew. And both times you either have Venomate or Snorri, right, that gets wrecked because they're squishy and they're weak. So the more Order heavy faction I went with was Nightingale, Freezard, Hard Orc, Snorri, and Revel. And then the more Order oriented one I went with was the Rantha, Kyra, Venomate, Hard Orc, and Nightingale. So that's how far you can get. You can, particularly with the Order team, it's pretty easy actually to get 1-star with that crew. It's just impossible really to get until you boost up those gear levels to get more damage output, but honestly just more shields so that your Snorri makes it till the end. All right, so how far do we get in Agility? Agility is another. It's not as big a one. It's mostly for these guys, the Demonic Mockeries. You boost up the Demonic Rages pretty easily. They're not as consumed as frequently, and they're only a 20 salvage item, whereas Demonic Mockeries are a 50 salvage item. So where can you get with Gear 9? You can get Gear 12, but it's not easy. What you need to do is, so Gear 12 is kind of like one animal. And I basically go with all order and a Patriarch Chi lead. You can do the same thing with the Soleus lead. You just run into a little more RNG. You kind of need the AI to diversify their targeting a little bit. Otherwise, they can kind of burn down one of your characters real quick. So the first wave is really easy, and I'm just going to burn through it just so I can show you real quick what I'm talking about. But in these challenges, you have the goblins, right? The goblins are your oppositions, and your healers, right? They have no way currently. You have no healers that can circumvent any taunts. But you're going up against Adam, who, though he can taunt every turn, he only has a 70% chance. Well, in this challenge number 12, with these Gear 9 peeps, I was able to do it as long as the Adam didn't taunt in the first round. So you can see right here, this is where you end up. Basically what you want to be able to do is go all in on General Murdoch and then all in on Thanessa in order to get them both killed before Adam comes back, because otherwise then Thanessa starts healing Adam. You'll get close to killing someone else, then Adam will pop up his taunt again. It's so annoying. So basically if you get to here, you kill General Murdoch before Adam's turn, he doesn't taunt, you kill Thanessa. At that point, you're good as gold. The third tier of the challenge is not difficult. Now, the second one, it's the same thing, really. You need Adam not to taunt. The problem is there's two Adams. And this is the one that I only just barely, with my crew, which some of them are actually weaker. My Sengiel is not Gear 9. Sengiel is not Gear 9. I have more self-respect than that. But you can. I also use Mortha instead of him, so that's just to prove that, again, you can do this with other teams. You got to get both of these guys to not taunt the first turn. You got to go for Thanessa, because otherwise she's going to keep healing people up behind the taunt. You're never going to get anywhere. The problem you run into, and I'm not going to go through the RNG of like restarting this, because 70% chance of taunt, 70% chance of taunt. It means 30 of not. The chance for both of them not to taunt is about a 10% chance. So you're going to need to restart it quite a bit to get to that point. But if you have some Gear 11 characters and some Gear 9 character stuff, you can 3-star this. The problem you run into is the freaking old lures in the second round, because there are 5 of them, and all they do is they soup up their first turn, and then they generally plow into a single character. How I was able to clear it with my team was I kind of saw who I thought they were going to go after, and I was able to use this blessing on, I think it was my Xantara, and literally she had to use the cheat death, and she like no life left, so it was just kind of a little bit of luck, I'm sure. But if you're gonna do it, you got, if you don't get both of those, you're honestly you're probably gonna clear that the level 12 challenge, but you're not even gonna 3-star it, because you guys just only crank out so much. And now for the challenge of mine. One disclaimer: I did not go through and do any crazy remodding for the tanks here. It's possible that it could work out to where you could get farther if you remodded them for damage, because usually survivability isn't as much their issue. But I was trying to keep it, again, like the low maintenance version. So anyway, where can you get? You can 3-star challenge level 13. It's not easy, but it's certainly doable. And the main thing you have to balance is that damage that you're taking in on your team. The main 2 people, so when I did this, right, just so I can show you those teams, right? This was the team I lose. Some of you might be surprised to see Hilda in there. That's because she actually does a decent amount more damage than most of the tanks, Tromgar being an exception, right? So she's not the best damage dealing tank. But this was the squad I used. And this is the squad that I would recommend to people. I mean, you could swap, Darian in there for someone, but basically you get the chance for armor decrease from Kelrian. You get the stronger damage attacks from Hilda. Huge thing here, though, is that they both have the ability to heal themselves. Excuse me. So Kinley, right, he's able to, with his passive, heal himself up even though there's no healer. Tromgar is able to use his regen in order to boost him up. You want to try and prioritize having these 2 guys taking taunts early on. And as soon as Kinley's up to full health, boom, that means you're trying to use his taunt as soon as you can, so you can kind of recycle that damage there and bring yourself back up. Whereas these other 3 characters are going to have very minor amounts of life steal, and it's not going to matter very much. Little baddies in there too, because on top of having an AoE that can grant you blind, and she also has her taunt actually dispels. So if there's a single tank in there, usually it's Kelrian that you're facing, right? It's always Kelrian you're facing because it's elves for this mission. And so Kelrian pops up multiple buffs on his taunt, so you don't always clear the taunt, but sometimes you do. And then also she has as her passive, if she dies, and the time that I 3-starred this, she did die, but she was able to bring herself back up with those shields. So that's how far you can get on the challenges. I'm going to ditch that. Now, what about legendary events? So I was in the middle of kind of like testing this. So here's how I can't even like go into the event and show you exactly anymore, because basically they had the Solis event and the Ember event for us to just play test for a while, and I think might have gotten messed up in the new build that came out. But basically, what can you get to at Gear 9 pretty easily? So I know that there are people out there who have shared, I know I talk about BADC like in every video, but if you go on BADC, they have a great guide where someone was able to, with a Gear 9 Tromgar and Gear 8 everyone else. Now granted, a lot of those abilities were maxed or close to max. Sometimes I actually think Gear is a better use because the ability mats are just so difficult to acquire, even relative to some of that more exclusive gear. But anyway, he was able to do it at level, it was like 65, something like that. But the problem is now, even though Nightingale's Dispel is resistible now, which kind of stinks in some cases, right, like in the raid, but it's actually really helpful both in that tank challenge. And that tank challenge, you want to make sure to have that 40-ish tenacity on both your Kinley and your Tromgar to make sure that that's not getting stripped by her 100% of the time. You can go more if you want, but you want to give yourself at least a little chance to resist that, because that gives you a little RNG help in there every once in a while when you run it. So I'm just kind of running it. Hey, cool, I was able to 3-star this time if there wasn't a Dispel. Anyway, back to it. So a Gear 9 with kind of like these very optimized abilities, I was able to, with a Rantha lead, Tromgar, Mortha, Mar, and Hard Orc, get through 6-star. With Nightingale's Dispel fix, she's not it really does crank up the difficulty a bit on that second wave when you do manage to get through. And getting through is still hard. I mean, getting Tromgar to Gear 10 is going to save you so many headaches for that 7-star run. So I wasn't going to go absolute like 10 hours of bonkers RNG searching on there, because I don't think most people are going to want to do that either. Tromgar to Gear 10 is probably your most important to do, and Mortha's super easy to get to Gear 10. She has a really easy gearing up to that point. She has like one Cursed Madness. That's like the one thing in between you and that. So I think getting the two of them to Gear 10, not because Mortha's fantastic, but because she stinks, but she's able to get there and give herself some additional shields, and you're not costing yourself super significant gear. But I was able to get 6-star Solis. Now go to Elves to show for. I did do some play testing. You are easily able to, even with the Hard Orc list comps. Someone asked me earlier about Diesel Rog. Diesel Rog could have been really useful for this, because the main thing that the orcs are missing in order to clear these events more easily, that the elves had and made Ember so much more easy, is that they need a Dispel. They don't have one, because even here, right, these Dispels only occur if he has a Goblin ally, and he obviously is going to have a Goblin ally on an Orc event. So I would not recommend bringing up Diesel Rog, mostly because that's a bunch of guild currency that could have been spent towards gearing these other more accessible characters, and you just are more likely to have these characters already at least at around 7-star, if not at 7 stars. So swap out Hard Orc, put in Corcrim. I only tested even with Diesel Rog a couple times, because I was like, there's really not. He doesn't have Old Lure to pair with. He doesn't have his Dispel with goblins. He's probably the worst character overall to try and use for the raid, for unlocking Solis out of these 7 characters. Even than Corcrim, like, he's just not Great. So I was gonna start testing with the Tromgar lead to see if a Tromgar lead could do it at Gear 9. And it's possible because I know a lot of people who have said that Tromgar lead was how they got it around the first time. But you are able to unlock Soleus with these guys at this gear level. And there's only, I think, one Curse Madness here, maybe one on Mortha in order to get them to Gear 9. And before that, it's all non-raid here. So as for Ember, right, and again, I wish I could kind of just go into it for a second, show you. I did all the combinations, including Phalia. For those of you who might be interested, hey, like, what does Phalia do for me too, right? Had them all at Gear 9, and I will say that the composition of Nightiel, Illyria, Kelrian, Phalia, and Sengiel, even though it had Sengiel, it was pretty easy. It wasn't super coast easy, but I think it was it was either my first or second attempt, and I did it with like 2 stars, so I only lost 1 character. Phalia does a really good job of providing some solid AoE damage just to increase their overall output. And again, I kind of like using her with the intended comp, right? They want you to use her with Sengiel. And again, like, Sengiel is not anything special in the abilities department, and nor was he anything special in what he did there, but the regenerations he was able to give Phalia were helpful in boosting her damage out in her basic. But even then, I think you could have swapped out Sengiel and thrown out Sharp, and it probably would have been even easier. I don't think you even need Phalia to have Sengiel's boost in there, because Sharp passing on crit chance to everyone is better. So there's that. Tried with Wonderlula, right? Basically the OGs, and then take out Sengiel, put in Wonderlula. That was harder. That was definitely harder than it was with Phalia and her crew, even though I did it with Sengiel. So Wonderlula's good, and a lot of us have her obviously a lot farther along than we do Phalia, because we had so many shards. Even if we didn't place very high in them, still probably have more shards for her than we do for Phalia. But it was harder. I was able to clear it, but I was trying to keep... The main problem you run into here is if you look at this investment, and I could have probably put like 2s. I probably could have put 2s on Sengiel and still done it with no problem at all. The ability investment for Wonderlula, that she is better for more things, and so you can kind of justify it. But let's say you don't have the ability mats to get that far. I mean, like, even Phalia, you can see like there's fewer 6s required. I was not getting enough success. I wasn't able to clear it until I could have replayed the crap out of it, get the right RNG, but I had to go at least to Gear 5 here. If you don't go at least to 6 here, you're messing up the whole rotation. You're not maximizing the critting ability of this. So you kind of have to go there. And if you don't go to at least 5, you're losing a lot of that crit damage boost. So I feel like you really have to go there with her, and I definitely eked by more with Wonderlula. It was just down to Wonderlula and Nightiel at the end. So out of the crew, and then I did it with the OGs, and it was harder still. I was able to do it. It took quite a few attempts. It's basically Nightiel being the freaking queen out there, and a princess out there, and Illyria getting some lucky help as well. It was pretty darn hard with all of them at Gear 9. But here's the thing: at Gear 9, you can do it, and it's way worse trying to 7-star Soleus. I wasn't even able to accomplish that, and I did do a fair amount of attempts on it with the Rantha lead. So as for reoccurring events, are you going to be able to clear these? Yes. I mean, these are pretty easy. You probably won't worry about that. And in fact, they even say you only need 8+ in order to clear it. With Gear 9, you're going to be able to clear those events that we've had for like Diesel Rog, Kurel, and Hilda. For the Health Runes event, I know you can't see them right now. I was able to do Health Runes T6 easy. No problem. Tier 7, where you get like the 3 random runes, not easy, not possible. You are going to need more investment than that. Same with the crit chance runes. Tier 6, easy mode, no problem. Tier 7, impossible. You have to do more than that to clear it, and certainly to 3-star it. So I'm going to try and keep track of more things as time goes on. Obviously, since we've had these accounts less time, we haven't been able to get farther along to assert, hey, I see it requires Gear 9, it recommends Gear 9 here, but I mean, can I get all the way here? I'm going to give you a hint. You can't do this. You can probably do this, but I don't want to be able to confirm it. So anywho, that's what you can get, right? For campaigns, right? You can get Order full clear, Demons full clear, and the Clans campaign, you're going to be able to get to 8-2 probably, unless you really go bonkers with restarts. And even that's just such a waste of energy because you're hitting on 8-3, which means it's a hard mode and it's 20 energy. That's rough. For the ability challenges, the 3 that allow you to use all the groups, right? So for the tomes, the gold, and the scrolls, you're going to be able to get that 3-star and level 15s easy. And then for the gear ones, it's going to vary a little bit. For tenacity, you're going to be able to get to 14 to be able to auto it, and you'll be able to get to 15 and accomplish it with some good, strategy and stuff, but you'll be able to get it at 1 star. For the healers, you're going to be able to get to level 12. You just need to time out you just need to restart it probably until that Atom doesn't taunt. On the first turn, you're able to clear out Mordok and Thanessa. You might be able to get 1 or 2 stars on level 13, but you're honestly going to have a pretty hard time 3-starring that one at Gear 9. And then for the Mind one, for the tanks, level 13, I did use a very specific squad, but for the most part, they're pretty farmable. I mean, Little Baddie, again, for people who are not going to be doing this to level 80 anyway, you're probably going to be pretty close to a 7-star Little Baddie. You don't even need her to be 7-star. And you get the Dispel with her, which is great. Tromgar and Kinley are 2 that everyone goes after early. Kelrian's very accessible, as is Hilda. So you're going to be able to get 5-star Soleus for sure, and even to 6-star. You're going to be able to go full all the way on Ember. It will be a lot harder depending on who it is that you use. And again, this is not saying you can't bring Nightingale up a little bit and definitely prioritize her first out of that crew. And you're going to be able to do all these character unlock events. You're going to be able to do the early stages of the easier rune events like health, crit chance, crit damage even probably. So anywho, thanks for watching. I hope it was useful for you. I'm going to try and keep these guys at Gear 9 as long as I can until I feel like for testing purposes, the content's gotten too difficult and I need to start boosting them because I do want to try and keep this as much of a minimum requirements testing account. I plan on doing raid stuff a bit later and some other things, but I wanted to go ahead and get this out to you. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.